Malheureusement, malgré tous ces efforts, ce dialogue national n'a pas eu lieu. Les élections se sont déroulées dans les conditions que l'on sait. Malgré le fait que tant l'Union européenne que la Troïka, composée des États-Unis, de la Grande-Bretagne et de la Norvège, ont refusé de soutenir le processus électoral compte tenu de la façon dont il se déroulait. Ces élections ont eu lieu du 13 au 16 avril et M. Omar el-Béchir a remporté la victoire sans aucune difficulté avec un score de 94,5% qui montre en lui seul ce qu'il en est de la démocratie au Soudan. Depuis ces élections, le régime semble se durcir et si nous avions besoin d'un exemple, il suffit de voir comment s'est passée la préparation à cette conférence pour nous le démontrer, puisque 5 des participants que nous avions invités ont été bloqués à l'aéroport et se sont vus confisquer leur passeport. Amin Maki Mandani et Farouk Abou Essa, qui sont représentants de la société civile, sur lequel le Parlement européen avait attiré l'attention quand ils ont été emprisonnés. Sidik Youssef Ibrahim, secrétaire général du Parti communiste soudanais, et puis peut-être, si vous me permettez, Monsieur le Président, une petite mention spéciale pour Mariam Almadi, dont j'ai fait la connaissance la dernière fois et que j'aurai plaisir à revoir. D'autant plus qu'en quittant Strasbourg et en rentrant au Soudan, elle a dû, à cause même de cette participation à cette rencontre au Parlement européen, faire quelques mois de prison. Donc j'aurais eu tout particulièrement plaisir à la saluer. Je pense que mes collègues auraient fait de même. Alors je voudrais d'abord remercier de leur présence Anna Gomez, qui m'avait dit qu'elle s'excuserait et qui finalement est là, donc c'est un grand bonheur, qui est une des organisatrices de cette réunion, et Barbara Smileni, qui est une de mes collègues italiennes, qui participe pour la première fois à nos travaux. Je voudrais excuser Ivo Vogel, qui devait être là et qui malheureusement n'a pu venir à Strasbourg de façon très exceptionnelle. Vous savez, je crois, le soutien qu'il apporte à la cause soudanaise. D'autres parlementaires m'ont promis de passer, notamment M. Louis Michel et M. Gorins, qui étaient venus la dernière fois. Madame Valenciano, qui devrait passer également un peu plus tard, Madame Valenciano, Elena Valenciano, a le privilège d'être la présidence de la sous-commission droits de l'homme du Parlement européen. Donc, je pense que ce serait important qu'elle puisse échanger un petit peu avec vous. Monsieur Zeller, qui est co-organisateur, devrait également passer un peu plus tard. Voilà, j'espère que j'ai oublié personne. Je ne sais pas si Anna, tu veux dire un mot maintenant, parce que je pense que tu ne vas pas rester très longtemps.
Thank you.
Pardon, if necessary, is that okay?
It's a pleasure to me to be together with Christine Vergia, Hugo de Ceballos, having you here in Brussels and listening to you. I have been a few times to Sudan. I know the importance of Sudan. I understand the importance of Sudan, which is something that many in this house don't. I'll be very frank with you. And that's why I think it's really very important that we interact with you and we listen to you. What are the needs? What are the challenges? Because of course, reality is changing, although many things are staying. And one of the things that is staying is actually Omar al-Bashir, that I think we would like to see really tried before the International Criminal Court for all the crimes, in particular in that field. But also, of course, one of the realities that has changed is the situation in the south. Not just because of the separation of the south, but also because of the the infighting in the south, which is having a tremendous impact in the people, first of all, of the south of Sudan, but as well throughout Sudan, I'm sure. And of course, it's a very unfortunate situation where I think the international community as a whole, and the EU in particular, have responsibilities that ought to be assumed, and that have a clear interlink with what is the situation in Sudan itself in terms of the big challenges for the people of Sudan, the ability to control your resources, the ability to live together and to, of course, enjoy basic human rights and freedoms. And one of the things that really struck me more every time I've been to Sudan is to see how you have so able people, so educated people. And it's indeed a tragedy that at the same time, there you are, still under the control of this autocratic system. Because of course, one of the things that I did in Sudan was to observe elections, and I could see that these elections were not really free and fair. My only request to you, first of all, give us your views. They are very important for us to know how to react, but on the other hand, don't expect us to be making a very big difference for you. I'm sorry to say that. It's upon your hands to actually make change happen in Sudan. It's not foreigners who are going to come and try to change.
Thank you, madam. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate very much that there is a greater representation of ladies. We, representatives of the peoples of Sudan, greatly appreciate the honor of being invited to address you. Our credentials, and of course we will give you copies of what we make in statement for your other colleagues. Our credentials are that we are representatives of the National Ummah Party, which held the majority of parliamentary representation in the last freely elected parliament. The Sudanese Revolutionary Front, which represents the majority of the marginalized peoples who resist imposition of religious and racial dictatorship, defending their rights in Darfur for 13 years now, and for 5 years in southern Kordofan and southern Blue Nile, and who have proven their commitment to a just and comprehensive peace by signing an agreement in July 2011, which the Khartoum regime unilaterally aborted, and who have continuously opted for a comprehensive and just peace. We also represent representatives of the Consensus Front who would have been here with us had they not been denied travel by the despotic government. Representatives of new political forces which have formed alliances to rid the country of dictatorship. Representatives of political parties which represent groups which opted out of the despotic ruling party and established themselves in opposition. Representatives of the freely organized non-governmental organizations and trade unions. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we represent the overwhelming majority of the peoples of Sudan who are now united in the pursuit of regime change by non-violent means to establish comprehensive and just peace and democratic governance. So far, we are united in a common agenda and are in the process of establishing a united front which calls for a charter that defines the terms for the comprehensive and just peace for Sudan, defines the future constitution of the country, and charts the roadmap towards that end. We would like to brief your good selves on 5 points. Point number 1. The present regime is now effectively a failed state. Its aggressive and assertive policies landed the country in 6 civil war fronts. It pursues scorched earth policies which led to hundreds of thousands of deaths and millions of internally and externally displaced citizens. It pursues divide and rule policies between ethnic groups and within ethnic groups, which destroyed the social fabric and created 14 armed conflicts between the Arab tribes. The violence has spread to the university campuses. Neglect of the productive sector of the economy, the huge military and security expenditure, abandonment of welfare expenditure have led to catastrophic socio-economic figures, more than 20% unemployment, massive unemployment of graduates, high percentage of citizens who suffer from poverty and lack of food security, massive immigration, whose number now is about 13 million. 90% of them have left the country at the time of this regime. Corruption in the country is rampant. The Sudan rated in the worst 5 countries in the Transparency Index for several years. The 2014-15 general elections were held under conditions which the African Union Technical Committee condemned, all representatives of democratic countries condemned, and the people of Sudan massively boycotted. The regime made a fake show of electoral victory, spending in the election and the ceremony about $300 million. The final point about being a failed state is that they elected a leadership referred by the United Nations Security Council to the International Criminal Court and is indicted by the court. So long as they fail to respond, the indicted leadership is internationally paralyzed. The second point, the regime is behaving irresponsibly, causing trouble in the Central African Republic, terrorist activities already in the surrounding regions, in the Horn of Africa, in West Africa, in Libya, and so on. Third point, the internal and external isolation of the regime would lead to a massive uprising. Already there were massive demonstrations in September 2013, and the 2015 elections left the regime abandoned. Fourth point, historically internal and external pressure led in South Africa to the 1992 CODESA, Conference for Democracy in South Africa. Such a scenario may well be enacted in Sudan. Therefore, we look up to all supporters of peace and democratization, especially the European Union, to support this expected Sudanese spring. Fifth point, internal and external pressures already forced the regime to call for national dialogue in January 2014. They formed a 7+7 forum to do so. However, they insisted upon chairing the dialogue and failed to allow basic freedoms, and so the initiative, after a short start, collapsed. After the Paris Declaration of August 2014 and the Sudan call after, and a framework agreement mediated by the chairman of the African High Implementation Panel, reached by all the Sudanese stakeholders, including representatives of the 7+7 group, the African Union Council for Security and Peace, in its 456 meeting, endorsed the positive developments and called for a preparatory meeting to be held by all Sudanese stakeholders in Addis Ababa in March 2015. You present guests have attended that meeting, but the regime failed to do so. Their absence after accepting the invitation is explained by the fact that they thought they could defeat opposition politically by electoral victories, militarily by a military summer initiative, and expected that their support for the Saudi storm would help them finance afterwards. They could then dictate the terms of the victorious. Things have not gone towards that expectation. I have been, after the elections, invited by the German Foreign Ministry for a hearing about the possibility of resuming the national dialogue. I have responded by a written memorandum which I have then shared with all my colleagues. No sane person would refuse national dialogue if it is a viable means to realize the just aspirations of the peoples of Sudan. But the regime has lost all credibility as a dialogue partner. For any such prospect, the regime would have to unilaterally take measures to free political prisoners, to cease fire, to ensure basic freedoms, and to allow humanitarian relief. I suggested that the African Union Security and Peace Council meet to renew confidence in the High Panel after strengthening it, that the Council endorse principles for dialogue, namely comprehensive and just peace and democratic governance, that if the Sudanese stakeholders agree to such principles, there would be a way out of the ICC indictment through Article 16 of the Rome Statute, and debt relief for Sudan according to the highly indebted poor countries program. That plus normalization of relations with the international community. The resolutions of the Council to be endorsed by the United Nations Security Council in a resolution under Chapter 7. National dialogue under such circumstances would be acceptable and viable and protected from playing politics. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the peoples of Sudan have suffered for so many years, 26 years. The time is ripe for an end to that dark period. We hope that you will bless the conditions which would end this calamity. Of course, the challenge is for us, but we could do with your blessing. Thank you.
Very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of this august institution. We would like actually to thank the European Parliament for the invitation. This is a set invitation, it's a session today. And we extend a special thanks to Madame Mary Christian and her colleagues for her continued cooperation and support in having us joining you here today. We have prepared robust documents for this August House, and we have already handed it to your Excellencies and ladies. We are not going to be reading it, but rather present the points. We rather present the points in it after my solicitations that we are here Sudanese came to this invitation, the third invitation. This is the means of seeking peace in the Sudan. Sudan is a tragedy country, and the tragedy in Sudan is that the tragedy has been killed in Sudan itself. So that is the situation. We are in this way. So this time of engagement with this August institution, it came at a background really of so many factors in Sudan. One factor is the economic situation which is deteriorating by an hour in Sudan, as my colleagues have already presented it. And then the corruption, the rampant corruption in the deteriorating economy and that collapsing, which actually implement that the state is a collapsed state. Then the other aspects is that the elements of the situation is a political unrest in Sudan after the August elections that has extended Bashir's rule for another 5 years in Sudan. Or that is also kept the unrest, the political unrest in Sudan in terms of volatility, coupled with the war in Sudan and the continuation of the war in Sudan, and this one is being also magnified by the recent ground campaigns using the militias, the rapid deployment or the rapid support forces. This was the converted Janjaweed into Sudan government forces, killing people and displacing so many of them. It has only not displacing those who are in the villages, but it's also extending, especially in Darfur, in displacing those who are in the displacement camp to further displacement, so that actually the removal and displacements of the millions of the people who are adding to those millions more displacements and more human catastrophes in Sudan. Coupled on that, the people of UNAMID, despite our own reservations in some of their performances and the conduct of the business in Sudan, but that is a viable organization, international organization that keeps an eye in the Sudanese performances in those areas, which is actually, if this has to be fulfilled and done, then that is the international community and the UN is playing into the hands of government and giving a free ticket to the Sudan government to continue killing and manning the people of Sudan. These are the realities of Sudan now. The government, instead of, we in the SRF went so far and the opposition in Sudan towards peace in Sudan. Berlin is a testimony to that one, that we have mobilized ourselves. Paris declaration is one of the roads to the peace. Berlin is mobilization of the Sudanese to the peace, and then coupled with Addis Ababa attempt to conduct peace, territorial peace for Sudan, that failed. Actually, that was the turning point in the seek of peace for Sudan, where things came abruptly in the road of peace to and stop. Then, in the contrary, the government has opted for military options and attitudes, and actually it continued killing, maiming, bombarding the people in the war-torn areas, denying access to the humanitarian in those areas. So we really in the Sudan, we are very concerned on the background of these new realities of Sudan, which actually they should be aware of after these implications of the situation on the Sudan politically and in terms of peace and in other means of it. There has to be a new way forward. Business as usual, as has been done in Sudan for the last 25 years in the presence of this regime, even though there was elections and there was some sort of changing attitudes in any time, but the force continues the same thing. That is the reprisal nature, dictatorship, and reprisal nature, genocidal nature of the Sudan continued for the last 25 years. So then the question is, why we are here? What is the way forward? We came here to present to your August House that the way what we think we Sudanese are the way forward. My colleagues in the press conference, and here my elder colleague here, former Prime Minister Sadiq al-Mahdi and the leader of the Umar Party have already correctly put it that what do we want? What on us? In addition, on top of what he has already presented, I would like kindly to you to present the following. The current political situation in Sudan demands a new way forward for achieving durable peace for all Sudan. And underline all Sudan. The way forward cannot succumb to government's delay tactics, and it must follow processes of one. First, focus on providing security and protection for civilians, stopping the wars, and granting humanitarian access for persons affected by the conflict in Sudan. Second, to further create a conducive environment for inclusive and comprehensive national dialogue. The government must take affirmative and measurable steps to guarantee and protect basic freedoms and human rights for all Sudanese people. Thirdly, the Sudan peace process and national dialogue will need a new clear mandate for the mediation. This mandate was missing, the clear mandate was missing for the mediation, despite which that mediation means the new mandate will need to include specific goals, a time frame. These are very important, that you have a specific goals, you have a time frame for moving process forward in a meaningful manner and preventing the government attempt to delay the process, and benchmark actually for true comprehensive national dialogue process. These are the way forward. For us, we believe these three-point way forward, they work symbiotically together and support each other for the comprehensive peace in Sudan. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we request the support from the European Parliament and its member states. And this one is a more integrated strategy support in peace in Sudan. This should include working with the African Union Peace Security Council to draft a revised mediation framework under which parties may seek to move the process forward. 4. Placing conditions on the government of Sudan before any increased engagement between the AU and the Sudan, including programs for debt relief, as I mentioned earlier, or funding of Khartoum process. The conditions should include humanitarian access, halting the area of bombardment and ground attacks. 5. Supporting the mandate of the robust, supporting the maintenance of the robust mandate for UNIMIT and preventing an arbitrary withdrawal of the UNIMIT from Darfur region. Despite its shortcomings, UNIMIT protects civilian population in Darfur from ongoing government and government-sponsored militias attack. Further, supporting fundamental UNIMIT reform. This is very, very necessary to include the stakeholders, to include the necessary actors in the ground in Darfur, be that in the armed forces, or be that in the Sudan government, be that is the arms who are the members of the movement that are in conflict in Darfur. They can be stakeholders. It is always in a good faith. When you are doing good things to me, a favor to me, then I must be included in that favor. Otherwise, it's not going to be to my own favor. So this is necessary for the UNIMIT in Darfur to fulfill its mandate, having relied on cooperation, permission of the government. This is the conditions now. In the conclusion, we again strongly concur with the AU High Representative's statements for the people and Sudan. We look forward for the continued support of the European Parliament, helping us to deliver a better future for Sudanese people. I thank you all.